Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back your lovely faces to a brand new video here on the channel. I am back from my amazing weekend at Bloodstock Festival in Catton Hall up in Burton-on-Trent, and it was amazing. As you can see, I am a bit burnt, but we are having a great day so far, and I hope everyone is having a great Tuesday, and I hope everyone had a great weekend. While I was away, I had people emailing me and messaging me saying, why haven't I covered the latest Byline Times article regarding GB News? I was away, obviously, and I didn't really have any signal, and I wasn't really going to make a video while I was away because all I had was my phone. But we are going to be starting some vlogs again because people have been asking for them, they've missed them, so we'll be doing that as well. So maybe in the future, if I am at these places and something like this pops up, I probably will make a quick video. But as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't actually read this yet, but just reading the title, this doesn't surprise me. GB News top boss has faced this allegation as channel paid to shut down institutional racism claims. Now, with all of this, supposedly they've paid off journalists. They've also paid off a worker or an ex-employee who was told by this man just to be, as you can see, for that there. This kind of makes sense now to why Dan Wootton is still on the air, because they want to try and be like, no, we're clean. But obviously, the Byline Times, they have looked into it, and this is what they've got. GB News settled an employment claim for a 5-figure sum in which SH was alleged against its chief executive, and shut down serious racism and bullying allegations raised by 2 other journalists, with further payouts and gagging agreements, the Byline Times can reveal. So, by gagging agreements, NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. In 2 separate workplace incidents involving other GB News executives, a woman went on sick leave after allegedly being told she was so ugly she should put a bag on her head and that she should open her legs to win a promotion. Rather than taking legal action, she is said to have quietly left her job in disgust. This does not surprise me. GB News' position is that it doesn't have a toxic workplace culture and that the company enjoys a good relationship with current and former employees. The claim naming the CEO guy, or the executive, a married father of 5, made allegations that he propositioned and declared feelings for a female member of staff in a late-night phone call after work drinks in 2021. Having been rebuffed, he then allegedly undermined and marginalized the woman in her role before she left and got employment lawyers to negotiate a settlement with the channel. A source with knowledge of the case said she felt ostracized, bullied, and became psychologically distressed, essentially for turning down someone's advances. That's like Dan Wootton. You know, he doesn't care about other people's feelings. Right, no, you're going to take whatever I'm saying and you're going to let me have it. Byline Times understands that GB News has never received a formal internal complaint against him. However, GB News did defend the employment tribunal claim, and after a preliminary hearing, it was withdrawn and a financial settlement reached. Now, this is going to be, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you know, what's going on? Or, I don't think like that. But whenever I see that someone has, I'm not going to court, I'll just settle. You know, which seems to be at this moment in time, a lot of people are starting to do. And it's something that, you know, I've just seen by here now, which I will read in a moment. But a lot of people are starting to use this type of terminology. Oh, we're settling. Doesn't mean that we're guilty. If you're not guilty, go through it all. You know, if you go, oh yeah, we can't afford you, we can't afford this, or we can't afford that. Sorry, if you're innocent and you can prove it, you take them to court and you get your expenses paid back for you. But just reading this by here, as with 2 other settled cases, Byline Times is reporting on today in the 9th part of the special investigation into malpractice in broadcasting and news. GB News required the complainant to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and this is what they said. The channel's position is that there are many reasons for the use of NDAs, and they do not constitute an admission of underlying allegations. Like I said, that is what a lot of people are now starting to use, that kind of terminology. If they settle, if they're being accused of horrible things. And to be honest with you, if you're rich, you can afford to go to court. Doesn't matter how long it takes, because you are literally going to get your expenses back. We've seen this with so many other cases. And when they say that, it's like, yeah, sorry, I don't buy it. But it does go on, and when they go on here, the second payout, last year, centered on allegations of racial discrimination and breaches of the Equality Act, according to insiders with knowledge of the case. The journalist who complained had been exposed to several thousand racist emails from some of the right-wing channels' viewership, including around 800 featuring shocking racial content from a single individual. Against GB News took no action. The woman involved got next to no support from the company, one insider told Byline Times. The content of some of these emails was really, really shocking. One referred, I'm not going to read it out, but obviously. Another one said, why can't we laugh when we see notices on the windows of B&Bs saying no dogs, no blacks, no Irish? There were much worse things, unprintable things. And instead of telling the target of the emails to preserve them and handing it to the police, they were told to delete them and ignore them. No, you don't do that. There was supposed to be a human resources review internally in order to ensure compliance with the Equality Act, which seeks to protect against this sort of harassment. But nothing really changed. The author replied to viewer emails, even thanked the sender for contributing. But it was never updated to also tell them that racist or prejudicial material would not be tolerated or would be reported to the police. They're just scummy, in they GB News are now. Again, to avoid all this coming out in a formal courtroom process, the boss has made a high five-figure offer to make it go away, but only with a non-disclosure agreement clause. They fear the label of institutional racism. You know what, with all of this and what we've seen so far in the previous 8 articles, everything that is going on there, it kind of shows you what they are in the background. Because the way that we have seen all of this, the way they are protecting Dan Wootton, the way that everything they are currently doing, and with this paying off someone for turning someone down, they get harassed. Then you see all of this. Thousands of emails. And they don't even think to update their auto-reply. Changing auto-reply is literally 3 minutes. If that. They didn't care. They don't care about their workers. This just goes to show it. As part of its due diligence and alongside interviews of more than 10 GB News whistleblowers, oh my god, they got so many. We're going to see tons of shit come out now. The Byline Times has checked the channel's contributor auto-reply as part of its investigation and can confirm that as of today, the 10th of August 2023, it includes no caution against racist, sexist, or misogynistic content. GB News' position is that it is not liable for third-party harassment and that it investigated the email incidents properly. As a result, it says it implemented enhanced spam filters to protect employees and make complaints to police when appropriate. The channel views itself as an equal opportunities employer with workplace rules and codes and has a grievance procedure in which claims of wrongdoing are investigated and acted upon. It says it addresses and investigates formal complaints professionally, even where these are against senior producers and presenters, and takes appropriate steps. Sorry, it doesn't take appropriate steps, because you seem to be here that you are literally telling them, no, we don't care. Just delete them. A strong sense of weak management. A third payout was made to a journalist of colour who complained of racial discrimination from a GB News executive. A source with knowledge of the case described how the reporter was accused of overreacting to what they felt was prejudicial treatment during a meeting in which they were singled out for criticism while white colleagues were not. The source, referring to a period last year, also painted a picture of a racially divided newsroom in which staff of colour tend to work separately from white colleagues. The journalist was eventually sacked following an anonymous complaint from a viewer, which had in fact wrongly identified him and was actually relating to a completely different GB News staffer, in which highly racist phrases were used. Among the language was a description of the journalist as an undercover street. However, GB News bosses used the complaint as the basis to terminate the journalist's contract, accusing him of gross misconduct for breaching protocols by using LinkedIn to find guests for GB News, which bosses allegedly accepted as standard practice among the man's colleagues. It's literally one rule for one, and just you do as I say, not as I do sort of thing still. Without GB News' backing, the journalist involved police after the racial attacks and wrote to a number of senior MPs, as well as getting representation from the National Union of Journalists. His National Union Journalist representative, Martin Shipton, told Byline Times, "It was an absolutely disgraceful case. I have never seen or heard anything like it. Any self-respecting newsroom would have dismissed such an email out of hand, and instead it was used to get rid of this employee, which is absolutely shocking." They're just scum, innit? In two other instances of alleged at GB News, which did not lead to threats of legal action, this newspaper has learned that a female journalist was told by two senior male colleagues, "Put a bag on your head because you're too ugly," while another encouraged her, "Open your legs in order to advance her career." A source told this newspaper, "If you want to look at it through the prism of sexism, then ask yourself why there are only a few solo female presenters on GB News. They're all there to prop up men, basically. It is a very hostile environment where if you're going to get on as a female presenter, you have to put up with being a sidekick, with just a very few exceptions." The new allegations about the culture at GB News follows a series of articles by this newspaper detailing the private and professional conduct of the channel star presenter Dan Wootton, who continues to enjoy a platform on his 9 p.m. weeknightly show. Wootton's regular column for Mail Online has been suspending because they're doing an investigation, while his former employer, The Sun, has also launched an internal inquiry into his behaviour between 2013 and 2021 and has asked to share its findings with Parliament. Dan Wootton denies all allegations of criminality. Of course he does, because some of the things he's been done for, obviously, being accused of voyeurism, fraud, blackmail. You don't want to have them on your file, mate. Trust me. That is going to get you some serious, and I mean serious, trouble. Insiders at GB News speak of a channel that began in June of 2021 with aspirations of professionalism and a remit to fill a populist gap in the broadcast news market, which has now lost its way. There is a strong sense of weak management at GB News, one source has said. When serious workplace issues are raised, time and again they are not being dealt with robustly. Experienced journalists are leaving en masse. The channel is having to rely more and more on inexperienced editorial staff who don't have compass to be directing a national broadcaster. When GB News launched, there was a great hope it could become a disruptor to the broadcasting status quo, a real free speech channel, but it is losing its way. GB News has declined to comment on the record, and obviously it says the guys who are doing these articles, they are former colleagues of Dan Wootton himself. There's so much going on with all this, guys. It's sad to see because this is just so much now. So much is coming out. And when you look at it as well, when you take a step back, neither side, and you look at it and like, yeah, I can see that we're going to get a few more people who work there. Not just Dan Wootton, not just this executive guy, but I would be like, oh shit, they're investigating him. Now they've investigated the CEO guy. They're obviously going to get other people. And to be honest with you, there's quite a few people who do work for GB News who, let's just say, have a colourful past. Because here in the UK, obviously, thanks to Dan Wootton, a lot of stuff came out over the past decade regarding a couple of his colleagues. I'm surprised some of them are working there with him. But you know what? That is a video for a different day when I can get a lot more stuff to show you. But guys, let me know what you think of this down below. Do you think we're going to see more people who work there, more stuff coming out with a dirty laundry, and just seeing that they've paid off quite a few people, and that Byline Times have 10 whistleblowers who actually work inside GB News? This is going to get interesting. It's going to get very dangerous, and it's not going to be good for GB News. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for future updates. Let me know what you think of this down below, folks, and I'll see you all soon.